They're explosive, man. They're a good offensive football team for sure. They always have skilled guys at the receiver spots. We're going to have to be able to handle them and handle their shots. And then they have a good running game that try to get you into space. So we got our work cut out for us.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in to the Maize and Blue Review on this Wednesday. That was Michigan linebackers coach Chris Partridge about an hour ago from, down in Ann Arbor, talking about the East Carolina Pirates and what kind of offense they bring to the table. We're bringing to the table a former Wolverine and Jim Scarcelli, who was on the show here on Wednesday. And Scar, it is on. We got a game on Saturday. How are you?
Yeah, fired up. These guys are in game week. It's Wednesday. Wednesday would have been the last tough practice. Tuesday, Wednesdays were I think Jim does the same things. Tuesday, Wednesday are tougher physical practices, and then that's it. And Thursday and Friday, you're getting ready. And that was Chris Partridge. They're talking about. It's hard as a coach. When the point spread, the media, you're 36.5 point favorite. They're terrible, blah, 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 blah. But this team took North Carolina State to the wire last year. I'm going to show some film, Danny. They got athletes. Look, they're not going to match up, but they could be a dangerous team. Offensively, they could be very dangerous. We're going to look at them, and, that's where you got to just, you got to have mental tough leadership from the players and the coaches obviously will, to understand that you got to get ready to play every freaking week, regardless of point spread and all this other noise.
Well, there is a little bit of noise going on just when you look at the things that they have to deal with that's different than the normal when you have a college football season. Everybody knows what we're talking about. We'll get to that. The recruits at the opener, that might be different because there might not be any there. You wanted to hit on revenue sharing, something Jim Harbaugh shared on Monday. You do have some of that East Carolina film. And then going back to last year, if you're somebody that did not watch this podcast or listen to it last year, Scar gave us a pick of the week. And Scar gave it the week one, he won. Then he won week two, then he won week three. And he was 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. And at one point, I don't know, 9-1. I don't know what you ended up, 11-2, 12-3, or whatever it was. It was just a scintillating record. You always have to be able to back that up when I tell you, but I'm excited to see who your selection of the week is. But Scar, you mentioned it, noise and things that you have to deal with. We're going to get to that straight ahead. I'm telling everybody that you want to know about the depth chart, what's happening with the latest and things that are going to be going on Saturday, right up to the minute. That's where you want to get in here as the curtain goes up on the season by joining the Maize and Blue Review today by going to michigan.rivals.com and go there now to get 60% off the annual subscription price. You use the promo code KICKOFF 2023. That's kickoff 2023. All right. So yeah, distraction, whatever. Jim Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, they are out for Saturday. So no head coach, no offensive coordinator. Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator, is up as head coach, and Kirk Campbell, the quarterback's coach, he will be calling plays. All right, Scar, let's get your thoughts on the interim coaches and what we're going to see and the task that they actually have on Monday or on Saturday.
Denny, look back at what old Scar said about a month ago. Okay. I know what I said, what I thought I would have done, because I would care about promoting my assistants. And I talked about maybe non-coordinators, so you don't mess with the coordinators. But Jim did go with, 3 different guys, actually 4. He took it to another level to get 2 guys. That's how a guy thinks who cares about his assistant coaches. So that's what I said I would do. And I said, I think that's what Jim might do. And that's exactly how it played out. He wants to give the love to his assistant coaches, let them have a win under their belt, and help them maybe get a head coaching job. It shows the stat. It shows all the players how much confidence, Coach Harbaugh has and all his assistants. He keeps saying, hey, I got 10 guys that can be head coaches. So I love the decision by the head coach because it promotes his assistants. Those kind of things makes it easier for you to recruit other really good coaches back into your program. If we lose a Sharon Moore, if we lose, a Jesse Minter, you do those kind of things. Other coaches see it. Hey, this guy cares about us. So that's a great thing. I think, then he's got Coach Jack. I didn't think about that. I should have known because Jim has done that before where he had his dad fill a role for, I think when he was at Stanford, so he's got his dad doing something. He's got Ben Herbert. It's all those little things like that it gives credibility to your assistants, and players will more and more respect those guys then when you do those kind of things that Jim is doing. So all those things are thought out, planned out. I love it. I just love it from a player standpoint and coach's standpoint, and all those guys will do great in those roles.
Yeah, and as long as they win the games, that's what we're thinking about. But I think that they should be able to win all these games. But in the meantime, Michigan making the best out of a situation that you never want to be in. How did Harbaugh put it? That they're trying to get better and not bitter. And you've heard many of the coaches echo that this week, and they all have said that they're trying to make their head coach and do what they've trained. Roll it out there as they have been trained to do, and doing it in a live game situation, you're going to have some butterflies out there. So that is it's a fun part as an aside, to check out. Now, Scar, it is going to be different though. We find out that normally on home games you're bringing in, I don't know how many, 10, 20, 30, maybe even more high school recruits from across the state and country, guys that want to come in, but it doesn't look like Michigan's going to do that for the first two games because Harbaugh and obviously Sharon Moore is not going to be there on Saturday. So that is a little bit as, you have your game plan with the players that you're targeting in the high schools and everything else. That's not going to happen for the first, it looks like 2 games.
Yeah. And that, it's going to be a factor because, recruits go to games. So, if people say, well, it's a factor because, the kid will have his, schedule what games he's going to go to, all these recruits that we want to bring in. Now, I don't know which ones we had coming in for those 2 games. Maybe we didn't have a lot of big timers coming in, but it's a factor. And sounds like Ward reached out and he's basically setting the table. So in 3 weeks, this thing will be over. Hopefully it'll be over. Jim sat 3. We've done things to punish Michigan with the recruiting. So it sounds like Ward is doing the right things to get it done and over with. And yes, it will be a minor factor. I went to a ton of games as a player, and that's what recruit guys do. They want to go see. So it'll just be a couple games that we won't have kids up there, and Jim can't talk to kids, and they can't. So it'll just be more and more kids that we have to be selective for the other home games.
Yeah, and you'll still have communication with them. I see this as a little bump in the road, not much. But I think the biggest out of all of it, you just look towards the future. Hopefully Jim Harbaugh is going to stay at, Michigan for another 10 years. But if he doesn't, you get Sharon Moore and you're going to have Jesse Minter with actual experience as a head coach. That's invaluable if they have to be a head coach. And then also look to somebody like Kirk Campbell, who as an offensive coordinator, if Sharon Moore moves anywhere or anything, this would be the guy you can think about next year. So all of those things, that's going to help down the road, even though you don't like that situation. But, you mentioned Jack and Jim and the football family and everything else. And you understand, Jack Harbaugh's career and, how long he coached and everything else. And then I found it interesting. Like I was just talking with my wife for a second, and she's like, hey, whatever, you're excited about the game, whatever. All of that. And then her first response was, oh, I just think it's great how Jack Harbaugh is going to be able to be like, she was just like thrilled about that. And I'm like, yeah, well, he's not, she's like, oh no, it's the greatest, Jim. And I bet that's just, great that he was able to go in and tell his dad like, hey dad, you're up, and all that. And she kept going on and on about it, how cool it was. And I thought,
yeah, I'm not quite sure what his role is. I know when he was at Stanford, I think when a guy took a job or something happened, his dad filled in as a running back coach or something. But, I'm not sure. But I know Ben Herbert has the position. And that's all good. Real quick, Danny, how about 6 captains? When Jim played, he was one of 2. He's changed it up. Initially, he was a 2-captain guy, and people have different thoughts on the importance of captains. And Mike Leach said, "Hey, the only thing I need a captain for is to win the coin toss. I'm the captain. I'm the leader of the team." So everybody has a different view of it. But Jim was he picked 6 real good guys. Looks like players who respect him, look up to him. And you got to have great leadership, man, from your coaches and your players. The players is mainly off the field, up on campus, and do the right thing away from Schembechler Hall. That's where you really need that great senior leadership.
I've seen a bunch of these guys over the past couple of weeks, and they've got great leadership on this team all throughout. Jaden Hood last week was talking. You listen to that guy, you're like, wow, this guy, this is a leader. This is the exact kind of Michigan player you want. But I think you evolve. As Harbaugh, somebody like me, if he would ask me, I'd say just have 2 captains. That's what I'm used to. That's what I like. But Harbaugh's going to be like, we had 6 guys that could have been going to the NFL, or 4 of them certainly could have been drafted, and they decided to come on back. I'm going to reward them. And not that he was picking the captains, but he did specify that you had to be a senior or a 5th year, or in Barrett's case, I guess a 6th year. So, he changed the rules. And hey, this isn't voting for the president. This is voting for a captain. So, you say what fits the team, and you get a bunch of guys. And I know this, if you listen to Trevor Keegan and Zach Zinter talk, those guys sound like captains. Blake Corum, is Mr. Michigan, and so too is Mike Sainristil still. So I don't know, all of these guys are worthy captains. You understand? Nobody got up there and was like, "Oh, I don't understand why I'm captain." They sounded like captains.
Hey, Danny, let me just say, in my thought, I thought about some of the guys that were elected captain when I played. Paul Girgash never said anything. Mike Mallory never just. They were just guys that you knew led by examples. They were just there every day, hitting, swinging, there, reliable, tough guys, not hanging around the training room, just smart, tough, competitive football players. And, they were very few words type of guys, and you respected those guys. So everybody has a different opinion of what they look at as a player in terms of who you might vote for. But anyway, that's that. We're in great shape there. And Danny, real quick before I forget, I went to the Xavier King football game downtown Detroit. So got to look at the couple recruits that Michigan is looking at. Big Tucker Caddis, a good-looking tackle. I played with his dad, so we saw him play, and he's a good-looking kid. And Denny, I don't have the kid's name. I met his dad, number 97. He's a committed kid from Xavier, big defensive lineman. Hamilton. I should have it. Good-looking player.
Hammond?
I don't know his name. It's Xavier. Big 6'5" kid.
Out of Cincy?
Pardon?
Out of Cincy, Ohio?
Cincinnati Xavier High School.
Yeah, Ted Hammond.
That's the kid. Good-looking kid. Shook his dad's hand, and he could be like a Brandon Graham type kid. So I was right on the field watching it. And he's a good-looking kid. To be honest, I was a little disappointed with King. It's like, man, okay, I get it. You don't have Dante Moore, but come on, man. Something. They got hammered. They got hammered pretty good, in my opinion. They just anyway. It was good to see a couple kids that they're recruiting, and then the kid that we've got committed. Xavier's a very well coached football program, in my opinion.
All right, Scar, how about some feedback? We've got some questions and some points from the people. You want to take that before we get to what Harbaugh had to say, and before we watch some film and get your pick of the week? Football is here. It's pretty exciting. Well, first of all, I don't even have the feedback. This is just on my phone that came up and said that he was proud to see you at the high school game, and said that everyone is expecting that Scar brings the championship level broadcasting now. So, that's you're bringing championship level. They expected you to bring that championship level to the broadcast, and hoping that you can win a championship as a broadcaster. And it was pointed out that you ended up at number 2 in the country but your senior season, you guys ended up at 2. So now you're shooting. You want that number 1, Scar. So, we'll
Hey
see.
man, I'm only as good as the team, baby. I'm just a soldier here, hanging and banging with you and Denny and Josh and all the crew here.
Riley says that he wants to see us use Orgy like Tim Tebow when he was a freshman. Every short yard situation, let him go get it. I feel like quarterback sneak with AO would be unstoppable.
Hey, Denny, yeah, he's shown it in the spring that the kid is a serious issue there. Serious. I see it too. It'd be a great thing. I'd like to see the big thing I want to see from Alex Georgie. They get him in there, and he's hopefully we get up on these people, and he can show that he can throw some high percentage, low risk passes. So the defense has to honor the whole package. But yeah, he's a serious threat there. Hell of an athlete, tough kid, and that could be a great package to have.
Yeah, I hear everyone talking about Alex Orgy. The Khalil Mullings was talking recently, and he's like, it's not just kick returns. They like to see him do everything. They like to see him throw the ball. They like to see him run it, and this is an opportunity because he's.
Danny, the fact that they're working him in kick return, punt return, that tells you that they want to get this kid experience. I know as a coach, you got your quarterback. No, to put him in those positions, that means they want to get this kid confidence, playing in front of 110, and get him some game action, regardless of what the heck it is. Because all those reps help. I don't care what position you're playing. It matters to get acclimated to the crowd.
Yeah, the only thing I think that they'll have an Orgy package, but the one thing, Khalil Mullings is a bowling ball, and he's going to be a short yardage running back. And the other 2 backs are pretty good, and so too is the quarterback. He can run, but you might want to save JJ from lowering his shoulder in some of these games, and you say, hey, let's put Orgy in there. I certainly could see it. I could see him down at the goal line. You could see him on a 4th and 1 and situational type things. I definitely think you could see that from Alex Orgy. So,
hey, Danny, speaking of Mullings, now we had heard some things that they were talking about Stokes, they were talking about the freshman in there, but then I just read the other day Mullings is the 3rd back, and I said that a couple weeks ago, and based on what I saw at the spring too, Mullings is an improved kid. He's a physical, and he's an elusive kid too. He's going to have a good year.
Yeah, I was impressed with how he talked, but I was really impressed just like looking at him. His shoulders, it kind of looks like he walked in and put like 2 softballs under his shirt where his shoulders are.
You want to take this question, Danny? Riley's talking about the goal line, the short yardage scrum that the Eagles were doing, that the NFL was talking about outlawing. That's the kind of thing that if I'm, if I'm Michigan or whoever I am, I'm not showing. Obviously, I mean, we'll see it in the first. We'll see it when the time comes. But yeah, it could be something that Michigan and a lot of people are working on now. I have to believe that it is a legal play in college, but the NFL was considering outlawing it for whatever reasons. But it obviously worked. That the techniques that they're using on that scrum play.
Well, and if you go to the Eagles, they have a all-pro center in Kelsey. And Jalen Hurts, going back to when he played at Oklahoma and then even Alabama, they would show the video of him squatting, 800 pounds or whatever it was. It's just amazing. But if you think about Drake Nugent, it was Chris Jenkins last week was saying, this guy's a tank. He goes into the weight room and he sees him hanging, on the pull-up bar, and he's just like, doing, pull-up after pull-up. So, he looks like he's a very impressive, you have to be, obviously, as a center, but, and he graded out by Pro Football Focus for whatever that was worth, or for whatever it is worth, as the best run-blocking returning center. And then you think about putting Orgy in there. And I haven't seen Orgy in the weight room, but I have seen him on some of his Instagram pictures where he looks like Jalen. His legs look like Jalen Hurts. I mean, I put my hands around like they're tree trunks. So you got.
Yeah, I stood next to him in practice. He's a big strapping kid.
Yeah,
he's put together. Yeah, so yeah. It's a great play, and we'll see what they do. They
Yeah.
don't try to run it.
Here's JP making a couple points. He says the ECU coach was mentioning how loud the big house will be, and he stated, quote, "We've had a lot of experience playing in loud environments such as BYU last year. BYU Stadium, 63,470, according to JP." And he said that the coach was asked how he thinks Harbaugh's suspension would or could play into the game.
Well, I heard the same thing about, yeah, of course. If I'm ECU, I'd rather have Harbaugh there and Corum out. Heck yeah. It's just like Belleville. You know, I heard a lot of high school coaches talking about Belleville when they suspended their coach. They're like, who cares if he's out? You know, take Bryce Underwood out. That doesn't hurt. Anyway, yeah, it's the same thing. I'd rather have, if I'm ECU, I'd rather have Harbaugh there and no JJ. Absolutely, no question.
How about the Guinness World Book of Records that Michigan potentially could go 15-0, utilizing 5 head coaches in the same season?
That's a good point. I never thought about that. Yeah,
I have not either. Here's somebody asking a specific status about a certain player in Will Johnson. I have heard that it was a very physical camp. You know, Jamie Morris, a former teammate of yours, right, Scar, a couple of weeks ago came out and he was at a practice and he said one of the things that struck him from the spring practice he went to and from one of the practice that he went to here in fall camp was just how physical the practice was. He said it was like Bo was coaching out there, which is not a surprise considering who Harbaugh's head coach was, but he said that it was like an early 80s practice that Harbaugh was out there, the hitting. He loved it. So there is going to be some injuries there. And, you know, there could be some guys that are down for.
Yeah, you know, Denny, part of that too might be that he feels so confident in the depth. See, if I didn't have, as I got more and more depth on my team, you can have more and more contact. He probably feels real confident with the depth. And it could be the fact that he's really trying to figure out some of these positions too, as to why he needed more contact. But yeah, you get it done, get the contact in, and then once you get to the season, then be smarter.
Okay, let's get, Mark is talking about how about Orgy plus 10 O-linemen with some hands. You know, Scar, you mentioned it in Zinter was asked again about, hey, could you really put 10 offensive linemen out there because of the numbers? He said he didn't know. So like you mentioned with the numbers, it probably you can't do that. There's a lot of things.
Yeah, I bet we'll see. I think, Jim, you know, I'll predict this. I think we're going to see some 6 and possibly 7 offensive linemen in the game at one time, though. He's done it before. He did it at Stanford. He had 7 offensive linemen in the game. And if you got so many good players, and those are the things that give defenses trouble. You know, you're looking at the sideline. Your coach has to tell you who's going in the game. Okay, he's bringing in 2 more offensive linemen, and now you got to get a couple big defensive linemen in the game real quick. So those are the adjustments and things that we always talk about. But yeah, I could see it happening, possibly some formations with 7 offensive linemen.
Yeah, well, I remember not last year, but the year before, Trente Jones, he had his nameplate off of his back. I think he was wearing 80, but they brought him in as an extra. I think they had him in as a tight end, and they were calling it like the Buffalo package. But, you know, that's bringing a tackle in as a tight end, and, you know, you could see that. Mark says he's surprised. All right, he must have really impressed, talking about Mullins, given the miscues. But first, as a running – the only miscue that I remember is in the Fiesta Bowl, and it was a big one from the 1 yard after the Roman Wilson bad call. They moved him up like as a fullback and tried to go quick, and there was an exchange. I don't remember any other miscue.
Also, Ben, you got to remember the kid was going back and forth from linebacker to running back. I mean, he's locked in. He's a running back. He's a full-time. You know, you're going to see total improvement, confidence level. He knows, you know, he's playing one position. I couldn't even imagine, you know, as my mind was spinning, just playing one side of the ball, how much was going through that kid's head. So he's going to have a good year. He knows the importance of securing the ball, and you know, he's going to have a good year. Our short yardage is going to be good because of him. He's going to be in the game on short yardage.
All right, a lot of orgy talk. Marcus wanting to be honest about the big house. He says it's not that loud compared to many other.
Right. It's not the loudest. It's louder, Denny, with the improvements that they made, with the changes they made about 8-10 years ago. It's a much louder stadium than it was when I played, but it's It's still a factor, and we've gotten better. Our fans have gotten, I think, even more and more hostile. They know when to cheer, when to make noise.
Yeah, my opinion on that, and I think the acoustics and what you're talking about, having the suites on both sides, that's going to keep the noise in.
And
Having
it's a factor. Yeah, it's a factor.
now the video boards that are going to be on there, that could. And the other one is that from 1969 and maybe even before that, but we'll just say from 69 to 2007, Michigan fans expected to be in every game and win every game and win the Big Ten and go to the Rose Bowl and have a chance that the season was going to come down to a couple plays. What I'm saying, not that they were necessarily spoiled, but they were used to excellence. So when you had Northwestern coming in or whoever you would have in the non-conference, it was, a lot of people kind of just sitting there, and, you can't just be rabid on your feet all the time like that. But once you had that taken away with the Rodriguez and Hoke years, and now that it came back, so too did the volume level. People were like, I am into this. That people were pretty excited that it was all back. I think all of those things are factors. I also think that, since you've gone to night games and you can have the fans out there, throwing down a couple extra drinks, you might be able to drink during the games now too. I think that has cranked up the noise level as well. So I don't know if I'm not over here to, Michigan's better. It's just, they are better than they were. I think they get a little bit of a bad rap on that. People are like, oh, a bunch of old people, the old blues sitting out there, the money. Maybe that is a factor. The older you get and the more money you have, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting wasted and wanting to stand up and just start screaming and paint your face and you're kind of like, all right, hey, you clap it a little bit, but I think it's gotten better.
Yeah, we're definitely I'm definitely satisfied with our support. So yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. How about that, Scar? How about Harbaugh coming out on Monday and he breaks out the book and says, look, I want to share some thoughts on college football. Number one, how about we get revenue sharing for the players? He had mentioned it a few times in the past, but he's ready for the players to share in some of that TV money. What did you think when you saw that?
Danny, I totally agree with him. Listen, we went through it. I've covered this. In 1960, there were 9 games NCAA, the college football player played. And they keep adding games. Every game you add takes away from a kid's ability to just be a normal student a couple weeks out of the year and just go to school. I know a lot of people don't care about that. Well, I do. And I think Jim does too. He cares that these kids that are on an athletic scholarship aren't playing football for 17, 18 weeks. Okay, they got 12 teams now they want to add to this playoff. That's 150 times 12. All these, and you're getting them all for free, Denny. The NCAA ain't paying nothing for it. All that TV money, you got all this labor for free. And you're going to all these extra games. And I know the argument, they're getting exposure. Whatever that is, but there's a lot of kids that are going to work extra to play in all these games, and they should get compensated for it. It shouldn't go into the general pot to be distributed from other people that aren't, putting their time in to play it. So I totally agree with Jim. I've said it. He said it now a couple years ago, and I'm right in line with him. There's got to be a something for them. And I'm not talking about breaking the bank, but something. If these teams excel, the NFL went to 17 games. Denny, you think the players got something? Heck yeah, they did. The salary cap went up tremendously when they got the extra games. College players get nothing with all these extra games. Really? Go ahead. Your thoughts.
Well, I'm okay with it as well. I'm mostly interested in football and basketball. I like hockey. I like baseball. I also appreciate the Olympic sports, but the money that you're taking to give the players that TV money, it pays for all of those Olympic sports. So you have to, if there's a downside, and for a lot of people, they don't care. They don't care if there's a field hockey team or a rowing team at Michigan. Those teams are going to go bye-bye. You might say, I traveled with the women's basketball team at Michigan for 2 years. we took charter flights around the country, and it was pretty nice. I just rolled up to the gate, got out of my car, picked up a couple drinks, and walked down the plane. It's pretty nice. So that's going bye-bye, so those are things that people don't, there's a lot of people that like that, but I think the majority of people are like, look, let's give it to the teams that people are interested in. Let's give it to the football team. Let's give it to the basketball team. So long for those other ones, if whatever, how much ever value you put in that, but they're not going to be chartering around the country anymore.
Yeah, find a happy median, because as of right now, they're getting nothing. Okay, so we're not even talking about they haven't thrown any figures out there. Just they're getting nothing now, Denny. 12 teams. They want 12 teams, and the coaches. Listen, the coaches are making millions of dollars. I ain't worried about them to work an extra couple weeks, but it's the players.
Yeah, hey, I'm for it. I don't.
Good. Let's see it happen, man. Let's see it happen. What else do I got on Harbaugh? Let's see. Couple things Harbaugh talked about. He talked about Mullings. Okay, he likes these young receivers. So, Denny, you really think about it, well, there's a couple other young guys that have been around, but some of them freshmen are really going to be factors in there. So we really like that receiver room. He talked about the edge group again. Nothing new that we don't know. We got 4, like I said, you can have 2 starters for this first game at the edge position. I don't think it matters. You got 4 guys that we can beat Ohio State with. I believe we got 4 there that we can beat them with. And he talked about that linebacker depth. So we're really, really solid there at linebacker. And again, I just want to say how overrated it is that Harbaugh's out. Denny, I never called a play ever as a head coach. I didn't call one offensive play as a head coach. I was a defensive coordinator. So it's overrated. Jim will be bunkered in his basement watching the game. And those other guys are going to do a great job. I just had that note down there. I never called one play. So,
yeah, for me, as I look at this game, everything is, it's exciting to see every snap and every play and everything else. But just looking at it all summer long, the thing I was pointing to the most, I want to see Blake Corum look like the Blake Corum from last year. And those 3 freshman wide receivers that you just mentioned, I want to see all of them. And I think you're going to have a chance to get to see them. I think there have been some guys that missed a little bit of time, nothing that, is going to be for into the Big Ten season, I don't think, but we're going to be able to see those guys. So the trio of freshman receivers, and then, Alex Orji is getting talked about so much. I do want to see him. I have heard enough people mention Jair Hill, the freshman corner, that I think that it's going to be exciting to see if the height follows for camp. And then both of the, what would say, backup safeties right now, Keon Sabb and Zeke Berry, I think are going to get a lot of playing time coming up on Saturday as well. So Berry, Sabb, Jair Hill, the true freshman, Alex Orji, camp hype for those guys. I want to see them on Saturday. But number 1, and the 3 freshmen at wide receiver. But number 1, Blake Corum, darting, juking, running, breaking tackles like he did last year. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. We hope we got a good, sound, healthy Corum. I believe that's the case. I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be looking at the left tackle and the center and those roles. We had such great performance last year. If Jim wants to call a play, he'll pick up. Possibly, I don't know if he's going to be allowed to pick up the phone. Another couple other things, Denny. I listened to, they went to, DiNardo and those guys went to the Ohio State. I listened to them. I heard their talk about Kyle McCord is the guy. Okay, Kyle McCord. It ain't never too early to start talking about the Buckeyes, first of all. But Kyle McCord is they named him the starter. Okay, there's good news and there's bad news about that. First of all, he ain't Justin Fields and he ain't CJ. Okay, so Kyle McCord is the starter. That's the good news because he's not one of those guys. The bad news is the other kid, Devin Brown.
Yes.
Is a pretty good player too. Okay, so here's the bad news: when you have 2 guys that are like that, those kind of guys, he's not going to be afraid to run them, and that's why we're going to look at ECU. What's dangerous about him? What was dangerous about TCU is you run that RPO and you run that darn quarter, just like when we run JJ every now and then out of the RPO. It changes everything. It makes it a hell of a lot tougher to defend. So the good news for the Buckeyes is, is McCord is not the kind of quarterback we've seen, but the bad news is now I think they're going to be, freewheeling and not worried about running their quarterback.
I love it. I'm looking forward to tomorrow and watching Minnesota and Nebraska. That's one of the games. And the other one that's going on is not too shabby either. Utah and Florida. Those are on the same time. Those will be exciting. We do have Scar's pick of the week. We got some film to watch. I do want to remind everyone, if you did not know this, it was the case all last year and the year before. Almost as soon as the game ends on Saturday, Jim Scarcelli and myself will fire up the post-game show, and we will talk about what we saw. We'll go through the whole thing. Your feedback is welcome. So just remember, after the game, it continues as we have the the post-game right here on the Maize and Blue review. So we look forward to that. And it's great to have Scar, who will be in championship form coming up after the game on Saturday. All right, Scar, you ready to watch some of the tape?
Yeah, let's take a look at some ECU. This is a game against Coastal Carolina. What we're going to see. We're going to see it. We've seen it many times. This is like what Maryland runs. We see this formation, okay, and this is what you get. You get a lot of stuff off the RPO. You got to run. You're going to run the football here, okay? We got to start by stopping the run. That's where Coach Minter will start when we look at defending their RPO game. You don't let them hand the freaking ball off. You stop the run. And then you got quarterback run over here. So you start with those two things, the zone play or the quarterback run. And then off of that, you've got the pass plays off the same action. So let's see, he's throwing the ball here. So that's how you start with defending this stuff, is you start with run first, and then, he's reading things, and you stop then you react to the pass. That's the progression I would teach it to my defense. So RPO is where it all starts with these guys. And here we go again. It all starts with him putting the ball in the gut. Every play, Denny, will start with him putting the ball in the gut of the back. So you have to honor run. The linebackers have to honor run. Okay, now he's pulling it out. But the big thing the linebackers have to, if I'm coaching linebackers, the big thing I got to look at is helmet. Is the height is he coming off the ball blocking for run, or is he standing up like pass? So linebackers are going to be reading helmet. High helmets equals pass. Low helmets equal run. So anyway, everything we've seen there, stuff we see. And now again, it puts it in the gut. Every play will start with that. And here's the pass off the run action. So you got to, again, all this stuff makes the linebackers honor run. See how they got to step up, Danny, these linebackers?
Yep.
You see it because they have to honor the ball in the gut of the back. So that's why it puts you in conflict. Okay. This was actually against Josiah Stewart, so he's seen this team. So here's some more RPO. Put the ball again. You start with the run. Coach Minter would have showed him this play and said, we cannot let them do this. They are not doing that to us. That's how I would start with my defense. We ain't letting them hand the ball off. No way. No way are we letting them do this. And they're going to have to deal with some bigger dudes than this Carolina defense here.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with that, and then we'll honor the quarterback, keep at the same time, and then react to pass. But Minter, what Minter does, Danny, he does a lot of different things to make this read difficult. So here's empty. Again, he's not. Wait, I'll show you his quarterback. This kid's gone. Okay, this kid is a graduate. He's gone. He's a left-hander, but there's another kid that you'll see him. I'll show some film. So here's empty. This coach has got the courage to run his quarterback on empty, and I believe we'll see a ton of it. Nothing. We run that play, so we've got to be able to handle that. And here's them on defense. Very similar to TCU, Denny. Very similar schematically to what we saw at TCU. 3-man front. Here's a pressure look. I think we're going to see a lot of overcommitted pressure defense because he's not going to want to he's just not going to want to let us hand the ball off to Corum. And he's going to have to take some chances, I think.
Yeah, you would think so.
So that's that. And here's some more. Here's them on offense, RPO run, zone run. Again, but you got to honor the quarterback. Always got to honor the quarterback. And that's what slows you down. And you look at this backside, it slows down this backside pursuit, honoring the quarterback. So that's too much. That can't happen. Too much.
That quarterback does a good job of keeping his head up there, making it look like
this other kid, he's a big 6'5" kid. Now here's a 3-man front. This looks real similar to what TCU did. Bringing guys. Here's bringing dudes. So that's similar to TCU. Okay, I like seeing this. This is what I like to see when a team, a lot of guys moving with when one guy moves on offense, you got a lot of dudes moving around. I like going against defenses that do that because I never wanted to do that. If one guy goes in motion, I want to have as minimal move guys that have to adjust. You follow me on that, Denny?
Yeah, I mean, you can get caught with your pants down if you're moving around.
Plus, you got too many guys. Thanks again, our friends at Quick Cut. Denny, I'm going to, real quick, you let me transition. Go ahead. You got something you want to talk about real quick? I got to transition out to the other.
Yes, I do. I want to tell everybody about Reno's hot dog stand last night. They were out at the Northville Winery and Brewery, and you could see they had the colors and the trees and the lights. They were fired up. And one of these times, you got to get out there wherever they're going to be, and you got to try one of those Detroiters and then tell them, good afternoon, Michigan football sent you. Reno's hot dog stand and catering. That's what you want to do and get out there and do it.
All right, anyway, real quick, here's the ECU coach. Sounds like a smart guy. So we're going to send him home on a miserable plane flight. All right, here we go. This is the spring game, Danny. I remember as a player, oftentimes we would have film of a spring game. Sometimes if it was a new coaching staff. Anyway, this kid he's been around in their program. He's number 15. This is the guy I think we're going to see. He's 6'5". He's an athlete. He's got a big, strong arm, and he's got feet. He can move. So real quick, just a couple plays, take a peek at this kid. But our guys will be looking at the whole game and figuring out what the heck this kid can do. So he's a tall, athletic kid. 15 now. Watch him here on this play, running the RPO, running it away. He's going away from the grain here now. But you see the kind of speed he has. He's not a stiff.
Partridge today said that they had some tape on him. I think he had one start, maybe in 2020, maybe during the pandemic year.
Yeah, he did. He had one. Okay, so they would have been looking at that. He's not a stiff. I like going against some big, tall dudes that can't run.
Right.
But this kid's an athlete. So there he is that. Okay, we'll run this QB, has 3 of them. So again, he's got some depth. So the coach isn't going to be afraid to run the kid. We are better up front, both sides of the ball. But here he is again, running the football. So that's all I got on ECU. Denny, that's it.
Right.
We'll get out of that.
That can get us to your pick of the week, which I am excited about. Told everybody last year how you went about it, and now here you are again, the chance to make a selection.
Okay, first of all, Danny, what I've been betting. I'm a guy that likes to. You got me back to the other screen anyway.
Oh, sorry, there you are.
Danny, I'm a guy that I like to bet a little bit. Been doing it a long time, and I've come to realize that one of the stupidest things I always do is I bet early in the year when I don't know what the hell these teams have. Okay, and a disciplined gambler would wait a couple weeks to get a feel for things. But some of this stuff, it just looks good. Now, I saw Hawaii play. I like them getting 3.5 at home. I like them. I like Indiana. I think Indiana, too many points, 30 points from the Buckeyes. I think that's a decent pick. Georgia Tech getting 7.5 against Louisville. That game, who the hell knows what kind of team Louisville's going to have? They got a new coach. Georgia Tech's coach is not terrible. They won some games last year. They're getting 7.5. I like that game. But the pick, Denny, my pick, I'm going with Army and Louisiana Monroe. I'm going with the over. That's my pick. Army scores points. They put 50 on them last year. That's Terry Bowden, had no clue how to defend them. Louisiana Monroe is going to score points. He brought in some guys that can throw the ball. So I'm 46.5. That's my pick. The over of the Army ULM game. Going to be some points scored there. He had no clue how to defend Army last year. And them other games I like too. Like I said, I like Georgia Tech. The game is in Georgia, and you're going to give Georgia Tech 7.5 in a game that you don't know nothing about either of these teams. You follow me, Denny? It's like, who the hell knows what these teams have? So the bookies feel that Louisville, because they got Jeff Brown over there now, I ain't buying it. The game should be a pick 'em, maybe a couple points for Louisville. I think it's too many points. But Army over, that's my pick.
I'm circling it, and I am underlining it, and I have written it down. So, Scar, I appreciate it. All right. Well, great, man. And now I know that football season is here. Scar going to the Army, Louisiana Monroe over 46.5. All right, Scar, we will talk with you when the game is over on Saturday. How about that?
All right. Fired up. Hopefully we are ready, come out healthy, and we're smiling. Saturday night, baby.
Yeah, I hope you're right about that. All right, Scar, we'll see you Saturday.
All right, go Blue.